looking at the way this works together, sorry guys, you have rhyme scheme, okay? Because there's a pattern here. So if I were to chart this out, lay, because it's the first rhyme I see, would be an A rhyme. And so would day and way. Does this sound familiar?
Yeah.
Okay. And then black, because it doesn't rhyme with lay, day, or way, but it does rhyme with back, would be B rhyme. Okay. Hopefully you caught a couple of the internal rhymes. Okay. Step and kept are neat off rhymes. So they're not perfect, but this is kind of like the bread and butter of rappers. Okay. They're not going to be exact rhymes. No, Lizzie, we'll have to come back a little bit later. They're not going to be exact rhymes, but they're close enough to sound to the ear to kind of fake it out. So we call those off rhymes. So if you caught that too, that was good. What's that? Leaves and leads is great too, but they don't rhyme. This is an example of what? Leaves, leads, assonance. The E sound of both leaves and leads, I mean, they probably have to be closer together because if your ear doesn't hear them, then it's sort of like, yeah, sure. Okay.
I don't think step and kept sound that much alike.
Step and kept?
Really? Yeah, but they got the.
Well, and this is why it's called an off rhyme. It's not stepped and kept. Okay? It's an off rhyme. It's not a perfect match, but it's close enough to fake out your ear. Okay? Good point. So, the next thing we're going to talk about is complicated. Okay? Your eyes are going to cross. I understand that. Okay? When we hear a poetic line having rhythm, okay, what it actually has, and when you think about rap lyrics and the rhythm that creates, it's the same exact idea. Okay? It is wordplay within a structure of meter. Meter is a measured pattern of syllables. A measured pattern of syllables. And then when you get even more complicated and say, yeah, it's all well and good just to have 10 syllables in this line, but I'm also going to have a pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables, or unstressed and stressed syllables, or unstressed, unstressed, stressed. Oh gosh, it's very cool. The wordplay is like turned up to the max, but poets use it all the time. And it's one of those things where it's like, but it's the same stuff that rappers use. Okay? So when we're talking about meter, we're talking about the pattern of rhythm within a line of poetry. And to make up that pattern, every meter is made up of a series of feet. Okay? A foot is an increment of that rhythm that is dictated by the kinds of syllables inside it. So the kind of foot that I'm going to talk to you about, but there are so many. Okay, well, there are 4. The kind we're going to focus on today, because it's the most famous, is the iamb. Okay, I-A-M-B. An iamb foot, or an iambic foot, is an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. Surprise is an iambic foot. Okay? Surprise. Now, you won't always find an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable in one word. Sometimes it will bridge the gap between 2. And I'll show you an example of that right now. Copy down this line, but leave just a slight bit of space right above it. Whose woods these are, I think I know. these are, I think I know. Not in this line. Now, what we're gonna be doing is called poetic scansion. We're gonna scan this line of poetry to see where the unstressed and the stressed syllables are. This line, the easiest one I could find. Why? All of the words in that line are how many syllables? One. Makes life very easy. Okay? Whose woods these are, I think, I know. Unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. So to scan this, you're going to make these markings right above the words. A little U kind of divot represents an unstressed syllable. And kind of an accent represents a stressed syllable. Whose woods these are, I think I know. This is confusing. Okay. Now, if an iambic foot is an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable, how many iambic feet do I have in this line? Whose woods these are, I think I know. I've got 4 iambic feet. Here's an iamb, here's an iamb, here's an iamb, and there's an iamb. So we would call this meter represented in this line iambic quadrammeter. Iambic feet, and there are 4 of them in the line, quad. Now what we're going to dabble with is iambic pentameter. So meaning we're going to deal with iambs, but there are 5. So 10 syllable lines is what we're going to play with a little bit later. And that iambic pentameter is what Shakespeare wrote not only all of his poetry in, but all of his plays as well. Crazy. Like when we talk about wordplay and we talk about word choice. Last thing, structure. 3 things you need to jot down. And one of which, if you already know that a stanza is a poetic paragraph, great. Leave it off. Okay? What you may need to know, because it will be on the test, are the kinds of stanzas you could see. But they make a whole lot of sense. A couplet, 2 lines together. A poetic paragraph of 2 lines. A tercet would be 3, quatrain 4, sestet 6, and an octave 8. So you can recognize, a stanza of varying length because there'd be like a break at the top between the whatever stanza came before and whatever stanza happens after. And some poets don't write in stanzas at all. For instance, you've got a 12-line stanza, which we just call a poem. Now, yeah, sestet 6. I don't think it's like an official thing. A non-attent.
Non-pet.
All right. So, in thinking about how to create stanzas, you've got to think about where to break lines. And there are really 2 ways that poets use to discern where to end one line and start another. The first one is with a simple end stop. At the end of the line, the idea also ends. And sometimes there is a piece of punctuation that will show that a reader should maybe take a breath there. It would be the appropriate thing to do. So for instance, as I in Rory Winter's night stood shivering in the snow, surprised I was with sudden heat, which made my heart to glow. Not only do I have a couplet here, a rhyming couplet, but I've got two end-stop lines. One idea does not bleed into the next line. It ends where it is. For instance, one of Shakespeare's very famous sonnets, most famous, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" Sonnet 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. So thinking about what this means, should I compare you to like the hotness of summer, baby? No, you're prettier. And you are like more easygoing. Because rough winds come up, like shake stuff around, and summer's lease, summer eventually runs out, but you are always happy. Oh, it's so much fun. Okay? Now, what Shakespeare does here gives you four end-stop poems. Four end-stop lines, rather. And he actually uses punctuation at the end. Now, it's different than the last one we have. There's a lot of text on this, so just listen to me. It's very simple. Enjambment, where one idea bleeds on to the next line. Okay? So, in this example, this Robert Browning poem, you have the first line, sweet children, I can't wait to quiz you next week. For those of you who are sitting here, you gotta learn sometimes. The quiz is coming. It's already written. You got the first line of this poem, which is end stopped. That's my last Duchess painted on the wall, looking as if she were alive. I call that piece a wonderment. So you have this idea of it's not the end of the idea, because that's my last Duchess painted on the wall looking as if she were alive. That's the whole fledged idea, but you have a break here, which is an end stop. I call that piece a wonder now. I call is not the end of the idea. It goes into the next to make it clear what he's trying to say. So, for example, back to that Robert Frost poem, this is constantly misread. This poem should read, two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. That makes sense. There's a person standing at a fork in a road trying to make a decision. Okay? Now, the trick of this is that there is a very clearly defined rhyme scheme, which we already talked about. And so, unseasoned readers of poetry are going to read this, two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, where it bent in the undergrowth. You don't serve the poem, and it has no meaning when you read it without the use of the punctuation. So when you see an idea becomes enjambed, or a line is enjambed where the idea leads on to the next line, read it that way, for fear you'll sound like an idiot. That is all the definition I have. Now, flipping this over, this is what we are going to parody today. We're going to take this and rewrite it, and it will be where it is. So, the sonnet in its entirety. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's days have all the short date. Sometimes too hot, the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dim. Pretty fair from fair sometimes declines by chance, or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long as this, and this gives life to thee. That's a different problem, guys. Here's why. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, this was probably written in 1530, early 1530s. And guess what? We are humankind, and we are breathing in a room with eyeballs that can look at this poem, and he imagined that somewhere, long down the road, that baby, as long as kids in an English class somewhere can read this poem, you still look good. And isn't that a nice idea? So long lives this. This poem exists, and as long as people are still reading it, they're going to know how hot you are, girl. That's nice. Okay? So, summer, you're better than summer. Sometimes it's too hot, and sometimes the sun goes away, and then it's like, whatever. And sometimes, like, everybody fades a little bit, but not you. Okay? Thy eternal summer shall never fade, nor lose what the qualities that you have. And even when you die, death can't claim you and say, oh, you're dead now, can't be that hot, you're dead. Because as long as this lives, you go peace. But then it gets so much better when you think about how freaking difficult this is to do. Watch. A, B, A, B. C, D, C, D. E, F, E, F, G, G. You're telling me that I gotta choose words to tell my girlfriend how hot she is? And every line has to be in a certain order so that it rhymes with something else that's not even right next to it? But wait, I'm not done. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's leaf hath all too short a date. Every single line, you guys. So talking about word choice, he could have said, my gorgeous daughter, you are the finest specimen of all. Yeah, but it wouldn't be in iambic pentameter with the rhyme scheme. That's nuts. But we're going to try it. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do.
Too hard.
It's too hard. Well, fortunately, yours doesn't exactly have to make sense. So I've given you that. What you are going to work on today, listen very carefully. What you're going to work on today is just in this box here. Okay, you're going to decide on your rhymes that you're going to use. Okay, and in much the same way where you saw when I charted the rhyme scheme of that sonnet, that no A's ever rhyme with B's, and no B's ever rhyme with D's, and E's don't rhyme with G's or A's or B's. They're all, only the A's rhyme, only the B's rhyme together, only the C's rhyme together. That's what we're going to kind of try to create. Okay? To do this, here's how this will work. You are gonna start by finding your own partner that you could work with productively. Then I am gonna pair your partnership with another partnership. And the only thing you're gonna do with this other partnership are decide to sort of make a contest out of it. I mean, like a contest. You're gonna come up with your rhymes together because I'm going to give you the first line of your poem. So for instance, if I give you, shall I compare these to a piece of toast? Then toast is my first A rhyme. But I need another A rhyme, so most, toast, post, boast, roast. Yeah. Any of that. Take any or all. Okay? But your A's are going to be the same as this other partnership. Your B's are going to be the same, but there's no first line or there's no second line to dictate what your B rhymes are. So you could say, let's rhyme with
Potato.
I guess. Rhyme with wise, eyes, size, lies. Okay. But B's again can't rhyme with A's, and nothing else can rhyme with that. Okay. So what you are going to do, ladies and gentlemen, listen very much. Listen very closely. Listen very closely. I just need you to choose your partnership today, and we'll start the rest of it tomorrow. But I want to get you into groups so we can start with
All right. What's a smart guy?
we're gonna come up with our rhyme scheme and then we'll break back apart. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your afternoon. Yes, there is. Like, I make it so that it feels like okay. I don't want to take away all your credit. And then take a piece from the binder.
Legit, I put my pencil on the ground. 5 seconds later, I put it on the ground and it's not there.
Exactly.
Wait, right now. No, not now, but like, yeah.
Yeah, I had it.
I know, but like, I left it there for 5 seconds because I was putting my fingers down. And like, I turned back and it's gone.
Diana, I wandered in while they were.
Oh my gosh. I am the most observant teacher in the building.
What, the gorilla walked in? No, I never saw the gorilla.
Here, let me turn up
Not a problem. You're not
my
worried.
class.
I think this is where I think I'm supposed to be in this room.